Hello, Facebook Live. Hello, Instagram Live. Hello, YouTube. What's happening, everybody? Marcus here. It is New Year's Eve, and just wanted to get on and drop some information or inspire people to set a very big goal for 2020 if you're in the restaurant industry or any industry, or if you're in business. I want to talk about goal setting, and one of the most important things that you could do in the restaurant industry. So I talked to a lot of restaurateurs through many years of being in a mastermind group, going to conferences, conventions, and people emailing me tons of questions, and working as a restaurant coach. My wife and I coach other restaurateurs, marketing, and all kinds of things, all kinds of operational things. And here's the number one thing that most restaurants do not know. Okay, and I can tell right away by talking to them, because I meet a lot of restaurateurs that need some help. They need help getting to the next level. Some of them are very successful already. Some of them are not so successful, but they need to get to the next level. So one of the first things I always ask a new coaching client, or prospective coaching client, is, do you want to increase sales or decrease expenses? And they never think of it in quite that equation. They're like, well, decrease expenses, because little preface of me, I've been in business since 2003. My first 3, 4, 5 years were a complete struggle. I'm not saying it's easy now, because there's times of the year where cash flow totally sucks. You're never prepared to do a big expense, a capital expense, something happens, something breaks, and you're in the middle of the winter and cash flow is low. You're never prepared for stuff like that. Enough prepared, no matter how long you've been in business. So cash flow sometimes can seem like it's a downer, but low cash flow does not mean that you don't have to run a successful business at all. Look at country clubs, seasonal country clubs. There's zero cash flow in when they're closed, right? But when they're open, they've got a lot of cash flow. It's a matter of managing that cash flow throughout the year. So I ask restaurateurs, and the reason I do this is because in 2008, I went through this transformation in my restaurant, and one of those trophies back there up on the wall up there came from an international contest that I won. My wife and I entered this contest to, I think, better your best, something like that. And it was better your best, and it was improving your restaurant. And that year alone, they said, now we were only doing at the time, we were probably only doing 500,000, 550, 600,000, something like that. Now, I have a chef background. I have a little bit of financial background too. I took a lot of accounting courses in college, and I have a sort of a knack for money. But when you get into a business and you start working the business, like you start working every possible moment you can, you lose sight of certain things. And those things you lose sight of sometimes are financials. You lose sight of balancing the books, creating profit and loss statements, doing exact detailed inventory. You lose that kind of stuff, and you just don't have time for it because you're sitting there busting your butt in the business. And I was there. 2008 going to 2009, went to this contest. It's called Better Your Best, and I actually hired somebody. I hired somebody at a price that I couldn't afford them to sit at my desk and go through the payables and go through everything, and then all of a sudden start making phone calls to suppliers, garbage people, cable, all these, going through, making calls and trying to negotiate bills down and monitoring and saying, do we really need 3 days of trash pickup? Can we do 2? Can we switch trash companies altogether? Can we renegotiate with the linen company? Can we do this? Can we get rid of linens altogether? So I paid this guy a lot of money to do this, and he was only worked for us for like literally 30 or 60 days, only 1 or 2 months. And we didn't buy cheaper food. That was never an option, was buying cheaper food. It was about spending money better and understanding where the money was going and cutting back. And that single year alone, we cut back our expenses $79,000 that year. And that was like the pivotal turning point of becoming a profitable business. $79,000 in 2009, we cut our expenses, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then all of a sudden I could focus more on marketing, and that's what then came about the book. I wrote the book a few years after that. I wrote the blog, 50 Mistakes. But here's the one thing I wanted to talk about today, was the one thing that you can give yourself as a goal to set, if you're a restaurateur, because most restaurateurs aren't doing this again, is know your numbers. Understand your food costs, understand your labor costs. Add those two together, understand your prime costs, your cost of goods and your labor combined, or your prime cost. Understand those two numbers, and that'll make a massive difference in your business. So again, when you ask yourself the same question, do we want to increase sales or do we want to decrease expenses? It's a combination of both. Now imagine if I would have never took that decreased expenditure back in 2009 of $79,000. That's just $79,000 was just like going to places that didn't need to go. And folks, this stuff adds up. And I bet if I did another assessment now, I could probably save a lot more money if I looked at every exact thing. Because what happens is I'm guilty of signing up for those subscriptions. So $7 a month for this, LastPass is $24 for the year for this. All those things like add up. You don't think of it like, oh, Dropbox. Well, how many of you got rid of Dropbox and went with Google Drive and figured out the best plan, or maybe just went to Google Drive instead of Dropbox? So there's all these extra fees that we're paying on this digital age that just keep adding up. And I go through and I own extra domain names that I knock off all the time. And I'll go through things, my wife and I will go through every few months. And like, do you really need to subscribe to that? No. Ancestry.com, $40 a month. What do I need to be on Ancestry.com for? I just went to Italy. I was looking for family. I couldn't find any. So things just add up and get carried away. And if you're not on top of it every month, that $7 a month, that's $40 a month. It just keeps going on and going on and going on and going on. And by the time you figure it out, you've actually bought yourself a Mercedes because of all this extra expenditures you're doing every month that you didn't need to do. So, folks, know your numbers, understand your labor, understand your payroll, understand these numbers, report these to yourself. And the best thing you can do for yourself is set a goal to understand your food costs and know your food costs. Do a detailed inventory. Use a program like Chef Tech. Count every single thing in your restaurant. Make sure everything's broken down by the drop. Truffle oil. I know that for every tablespoon, there's 285 milliliters of truffle oil, and there's 285 drops in here per everything goes into our sheet and it's broken down into the exact drop, ounce, tablespoon, teaspoon. Everything's broken down. Everything's costed out, and that's the key to understanding your cost. So, my wife runs a report on every single keg of beer that we sell. Keg costs us $120, $150. It's a 6-12. We get 57 12-ounce portions out of it. We sold this many. There was this much waste. This is how much we reported back on the keg. Great. That was a good keg. So just by knowing all that and repeating that process over of serving good products, good service at a good margin will help you run a successful business. But again, not many people know their numbers, and it's a shame. So rolling into the 20s, into 2020, make that goal for yourself of understanding your numbers and really kicking butt with that. And things will magically happen, I promise you. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And until next time, have a great, great, great new year, and we'll talk to you later.